Hello, everyone. How are you out there? Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. I'm Lee Camp. Another very important hour. Obviously, the Israel, Palestine, Gaza. Uh, it's certainly becoming a massacre. It keeps getting worse, and so I'll be talking a lot about that in this upcoming hour. Please take a second to hit subscribe and share and all those good things. But I'm very excited for my guest, so I'm going to go straight to that. She is ridiculously accomplished. She's a journalist, author, radio producer. She's the associate editor of the media outlet Electronic Intifada. Previously, she was the senior producer and co-host of Flashpoints on Pacifica Radio. And she's the author of In Our Power, U.S. Students Organize for Justice in Palestine. Please welcome Nora Burrows-Friedman. Hello, Nora.
Hi, Lee. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. This is I don't know, such an important topic, such a horrifying topic. What's going on right now? So I wanted to bring on someone who is definitely more informed on all of this than I am, and so thank you for being here. I'm going to start at a very simple place, though, because I want to bring everybody. And sometimes, yes, most of my viewers are people who are well educated on these things already, but sometimes people just stumble upon these streams. So I wanted to ask you to explain the name of your outlet, Electronic Intifada, because I know that the propaganda in the West would have your average American associate Intifada with terrorism, which is absolutely wrong. So
yeah, everything that Palestinians are associated with is racist and Islamophobic, and that goes for the name of our publication. So Intifada is the name. Literally in Arabic, it translates to shaking off. And there have been two intifadas, one in 1987 and another in the early 2000s, where Palestinians rose up en masse in Gaza, in the West Bank, and demanded that they be treated as human beings, and demanded that Israel stop the occupation, that they be allowed to return home from the lands and towns and villages that they were expelled from since 1948. And for the international community, I'm putting that in quotes, the international community, which has never lifted a finger to protect Palestinians, to step in and apply international law prosecution against the Israeli apartheid state. So we named our outlet the Electronic Intifada. I wasn't a staff member then. It was we launched in 2001, right at the beginning of the second Intifada, as really a way to describe, how news content, voices from the ground in Palestine, were also as important, to be a voice of reason and truth in this wave of just absolute dehumanization of Palestinians and their struggle for liberation.
Yeah, absolutely, and it seems like now. I mean, I guess I want to start with, if you could just give an update on what's going on right now in Gaza, as far as the latest. Even the mainstream media, it seems like they, over many years, have been shamed into finally somewhat, and this doesn't mean there's not tons of propaganda. I was highlighting a lot of it yesterday, but it seems like there's, like, I'd say, 15, 20% of the time they have just been shamed into finally covering the horrors. I mean, even CNN is covering that Israel just destroyed a hospital.
Yeah. At a certain point, the corporate media, which works hand in glove with the Israeli apparatus and the lobby groups and the corporations that benefit, like I just saw the statistics from some of the weapons manufacturers and how their stocks have gone up in the
Yeah.
last few days.
Yeah. They've all shut up. Yeah.
War is good for business, they say, right? Um, so it's hard, it's really hard to keep track of things are changing, are expanding by the second. Just less than an hour ago, the Al Ahli hospital in central Gaza, in Gaza City, was bombed by the Israeli military. There are reports that up to 1,000, possibly more people have been killed instantly in that attack. We're talking Palestinians who were being brought there over the last week because of these horrifying injuries from other bombing campaigns. We're talking about people who were sheltering in the courtyard of the hospital because there is no safe place for people to go, right? I mean, homes have been flattened. Uh, 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 Clinics and hospitals are now being flattened. Office buildings are being flattened. Mosques are being flattened. There is literally nowhere safe. Israel has, for the last 16 years, hermetically sealed Gaza off from the rest of the world. It counts the calories of what Palestinians need to barely survive, and only lets in enough supplies, food, medicine,
Water.
water. I mean, now after 8 days, they've shut off the water, they've shut off the electricity, which even if they turn the water pumps on, the infrastructure is completely obliterated, and you need electricity to run the water pumps. So people are having to fill their water bottles, their cups, their bowls with seawater, with water that has not been treated. So we're seeing this just cascade of humanitarian crises evolve and snowball one after the next. So we're talking about people who are already in a state of dehydration and starvation and trauma, with wounds that could easily be fixed and ameliorated in a normal hospital.
Right.
Not to mention people who are chronically ill, patients who are chronically ill, infants in the neonatal intensive care units in these hospitals who have had, we don't even know the stories because you need electricity to run anything in a hospital, and the generators
Well,
have
that's part of by
just,
design is that the
that's right.
stories can't get out.
That's right. Yeah, and we're seeing a total media blackout. And so to see the wiping out of a hospital, and to see leaders of the so-called West cheering it on, or offering, boilerplate statements that begin and end with Israel has a right to defend itself. Just completing this complete dehumanization of Palestinians once again.
Well, and the whole idea of Israel has the right to defend itself it's a non-starter. It's a
Of
non-discussion
course.
because it doesn't really mean anything. International law says you cannot bomb the ever living hell out of innocent civilians. And we came up with those international laws after World War II to
Right.
stop things like the Holocaust, to stop things like the atom bombs that the U.S. dropped, killing 100,000 innocent civilians in 1 minute. And so, you could argue we were defending ourselves against the Nazis when we dropped the atomic bomb, even though the war was over. But it doesn't mean anything. We have
Yeah.
international laws that supposedly say you can't do this. You can't behave like this.
Right. But they are meaningless when they're not applied to one of the most egregious violators of international law, not just in the last week, not just today, but over the past 75 years of Israel's existence. Every single day of its existence has been a violation of international law. And the United Nations, Western countries, the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, still has not dared to take Israel on and make these international laws more than meaningless, because of the political pressure by the US, by the European Union, by Canada, and by the UK. And, we just see this genocide happening in real time, on video, in photographs, from WhatsApp messages from my friends in Gaza who, are eager to reach out. They have like 3% battery left. There's no internet, but they can find, a little tiny bit of cellular data. And they reach out and they tell us what's happening, and no one is coming to protect them. No one is coming. Kudos to Colombia for being the first and only so far nation to expel Israel's ambassador and cut diplomatic ties. We need more material consequences like this for Israel. Joe Biden is about to step on a plane and go and give his support to the Israeli military, which is genociding Palestinians.
The prime minister in the UK projected a giant Israeli flag on his home address.
Right. Yeah. While rounding up Palestinian and allied demonstrators all over the UK for protesting, or for even wearing a kufiyya, the traditional neck scarf. There's a doctor, British Palestinian doctor, who is in Gaza right now. He goes periodically to do facial and or plastic surgery for people, Palestinians who have been severely wounded in Israeli airstrikes like this. And he's in Gaza right now, and he said that the UK police came to his family's home, asking about him. I mean, these are like the FBI visits, that are actually happening again right now to Arab Muslim Palestinian people in the U.S. Ghassan Abu Sitta is his name. He's a doctor. His family has been harassed by the UK police. I mean, it is just mind-boggling, to see what's happening, to see the clampdown and the repression on people who are raising their voices across the world, saying, "Stop the slaughter, stop this genocide." Even meager calls for a ceasefire are being told that that's repugnant by Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary. Repugnant. Calls for a ceasefire are repugnant to the White House. These are the monsters that we're dealing with. This is a complete hell, and Palestinians are paying the price.
There was a vote. Speaking of the ceasefire, there was a vote at the UN Security Council. 5 countries voted for a ceasefire: China, Gabon, Mozambique, Russia, and the UAE. 4 countries voted against a ceasefire: France, Japan, UK, and the US.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I
don't know.
Where do you
begin? I know.
I know. Where do you begin? And do you think genocide is too strong a term?
No.
The way these actions are unfolding?
Absolutely not. I mean, you look at the textbook definition of genocide, this is exactly what Israel is doing now. They are trying to exterminate Palestinians in Gaza. They are trying to exterminate them. These Israeli spokespeople, these, war generals, these settlers who have stolen Palestinian land, are saying, "Oh, we want to provide a humanitarian corridor for civilians in Gaza to leave Gaza and go to the Sinai, right? Go to neighboring countries." This is also the plan that has been in place for 75 years, to either bomb Palestinians into extermination or push them out of their land permanently. So Palestinians in Gaza have the option, right, of either dying or leaving. And in any other case around the world, this would be called ethnic cleansing and genocide. But because it's Israel, it gets a free pass. And because Palestinians have always been dehumanized and smeared and lied about, this is what this is what Israel is allowed to do in broad daylight with the full backing of the so-called West.
You had or I guess you and your team over at Electronic Intifada had a interesting and important breaking news story about these Hamas went into these kibbutzes, and there were many shootouts, and you guys broke a story of a woman who survived one of those and said it was the IDF, the Israeli troops, who came in and just started shooting indiscriminately, and most of the deaths were due to them.
Yes. Yeah, I encourage everyone to go to our website, read that explosive story. Everything is sourced and cited, of course. And it really indicates that not only do we not know the whole story of what happened on October 7th and the days after it, but it is looking increasingly like Israel shot their own civilians in order for them either not to be captured or that they were just completely outnumbered by Hamas resistance fighters, and were shooting indiscriminately. And Israel, is I mean, this is also not a new tactic. There's something called the Hannibal Directive, which was employed during Israel's occupation and war on Lebanon, where Israel would rather its own troops and civilians die in crossfire than rescue them from captivity. This is what Israel is. Israel is barbaric. Israel would rather shoot its own citizens, tell the world that they were shot by Palestinians, which would elicit a wave of international, solidarity with the poor state of Israel, the victim state of Israel, as it is bombing the hell out of Palestinians from the sky. Yeah.
To talk about the angle that Israel's pushing right now, and a lot of our mainstream media is endorsing that Israel right now is hitting Hamas targets, and
Right.
and also talk about, connected to that, the fact that Israel apparently now knows where every Hamas fighter is in every tunnel, but a few days ago had no idea that Hamas had planned a massive incursion.
Right. They always say this on every attack on Gaza over the last 15 years, let's say. Israel always claims that they're hitting Hamas targets, right? That there is Hamas lurking in people's homes and inside hospitals and using Palestinians there as human shields, right? It's completely not true. I mean, you can't. How is a hospital a Hamas target? How are people's apartment buildings Hamas targets? How is a bakery? Yesterday, they bombed a bakery where people were lined up to buy slivers of bread because there's no food left. They bombed a bakery. They can say anything is a Hamas target because Palestinians have been completely dehumanized. And, if they're all Hamas, then they're all terrorists. The babies that are in the incubators right now at Al Shifa Hospital, well, they'll grow up to be Hamas. So we can eliminate them and not have any consciousness around it beforehand. I mean, this is sick. It is deranged. And Israel gets away with it again and again and again. And the world does not step in. The world does not stop. Everyone believed these lies about beheaded Jewish babies in the kibbutz, even though there was not a shred of evidence, and it was quickly walked back.
Completely false. And you have Biden on stage saying he saw video of it.
He has blood on his hands for what's happening to the Palestinians in Gaza. He is one of the most vicious war criminals that we have. And he has to be taken to account. Because he helped fuel this genocide, and the ramifications we haven't even seen yet. I mean, we saw just a couple days ago in Chicago, a landlord who has been watching mainstream media, a lot of Fox, that is also aiding and abetting this bloodlust against Palestinians.
Yeah.
Knocked on the door of one of his tenants, a Palestinian American mom and her son, 6-year-old son. And when he opened the door, the 6-year-old son was stabbed 26 times by this landlord who said, "We have to kill all the Muslims." This was a boy, apparently. Now, according to the family, the boy was happy to see his landlord because the landlord was previously very sweet to him. He had built him a tree house in the backyard.
Mm.
And he stabbed this baby 26 times. And this is not going to be the only incident that we see, the ramifications that come home because of this genocidal rhetoric being pushed by the top levels of the US government.
And anti-Semitism. You're going to have people that
Yes.
that are not watching mainstream media, that are getting the truth about what's going on there,
Right.
and go on to generalize and hate Jews because
That's
of it.
right. That's right. That's right. I mean, it is beyond the pale.
Talk a little more about the U.S. role in what has gone on here, not just the last few days, but years, and not just Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, the setup that is now resulting in the way we kind of all knew it would result.
Yeah. I mean, where to start, right? Where to start?
Yeah.
You know, the US as an imperial project creates and coddles and favors and funds and abets other imperial projects around the world. We're seeing, you know, I mean, this is the shared values of the West. Israel is part and parcel of European Western imperialist hegemony. And the US, I mean, you just, you know, saw liberals who, you know, say they would vote for Obama a third term, another war criminal, who droney Obama, drone struck countless people in
26
Yemen.
26,000 bombs dropped
Yes,
his final year in
that's
office.
right.
Yeah.
He, you know, has this statement that comes out a couple days ago: "I stand unequivocally with Israel. Israel is our sister, you know, the right to defend itself," all of this. This is always what the US has been. This is not just an aberration. The US will protect its partners in settler colonialism and in imperialism, in occupation, and in war crimes. And that's what we're seeing the US play its role right now. Where the U.S. State Department instructs, you know, its employees not to use words like ceasefire, in order to remain steadfastly, staunchly allied with Israel. We don't want to make Israel feel bad, right? It can do whatever it wants. We're sending apparently 2,000 U.S. Marines to the region. For what? For what?
Right, a battleship.
Yeah, a battleship to the region. Um, it's breathtaking how honest, really, how honest the U.S. project of empire is revealing itself to be over and over and over again in times like this. So yeah, I mean that's the U.S. The U.S. is a war state.
Yeah. And Biden has said multiple times, I thought it was kind of a gaffe back in the 80s or whatever, but no, he said it again recently, that if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to
That's
invent
right.
it. Basically saying that Israel's, you know, one of its main purposes from the eyes of the American government is as essentially an outpost, a military base in the
Yes.
middle of the Middle East for the US. Of course, Israel's had nuclear weapons for years and has never been investigated or
Never.
reviewed in any way, whereas every other country that has nuclear weapons, there are strict rules and you know, inspections.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I am just, I, I have no words. There are no words. We need a new vocabulary to describe what's happening in Palestine, and the silence, not even the silence, the encouragement of this genocide by Western leaders. There are no words left. It is just naked genocide. It is naked ethnic cleansing, and Palestinians, I woke up, very early this morning, and the first thing I do is to check and see if my friends and colleagues in Gaza are alive. And I got these messages from one of our contributors who said that she wants to, record herself doing like a news report kind of thing for us. And so I was like, do whatever you need to do, just go ahead. And she is, she took a video of herself. There's several takes, like standing in her full dignity, beautiful and articulate and eloquent and professional, a professional reporter doing her job, from inside this house that she's sheltering in. I'm not even sure if it's her own house. There are so many families who have come and gone from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, because their neighbor's house has been bombed, and then another neighbor's house has been bombed.
Yeah.
And there are dozens of children in these houses asking for water that they don't have. There's no water in the spigot. You can't just go to the store and buy it. It is gone. And there she is in her full dignity, doing her job, telling us what we need to hear, what is not being heard in the corporate mainstream media. And me, from the relative comfort of my home here in the United States, the shame that I feel, I just sorry.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, because it's getting to me too. It's, earlier today, I'm ashamed for the American government, and I feel guilt for even being American. But then also just the immense shame for the way, fellow Jews are behaving with this, these atrocities. After the Holocaust, the slogan was "Never again." And the idea was, we're never going to allow this to happen again. Right. But not only are we allowing it to happen, but it is Jews in Israel who are perpetrating it right now.
Yes. You're right. Never again for who? For one population or for everybody? This, again, words become meaningless. Words become meaningless in times like these. And we have to be bold, especially as Jewish Americans. We have to stand strong, and we have to push back against forces in our community that are saying that we have to stand with Israel because it's, quote, the only safe place for us. It sickens me. It makes me sick to my stomach for my supposed people who have survived mass genocide, who have survived anti-Semitic pogroms, to be able to shut off whatever part of their psyche holds any compassion or empathy, and call for the genocide of another people. It is sick and depraved. It's deranged. And it needs it. We need to have these hard conversations, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. Now, now we need to have those conversations now.
Hard conversations, and often hard conversations with our own families.
Yes,
that's
where we start.
I definitely have family members who do not understand my stance at all, which is funny, because it's the moral compass that they themselves instilled in me that allows me to look at this in an honest way.
Yeah, right. It's a very cognitive dissonance that we're all experiencing here.
I'll end with this on a slight positive note, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. Do you feel like you're seeing a change in Western media a little compared to 10 years ago? It feels like too little, too late in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, but I don't know that I've ever seen CNN just have segments on just the destruction in Gaza and how horrifying it is without throwing in some like, but also Israel's right to defend itself.
right.
You know,
I think there are pockets. I think there are. I mean, I don't hold any hope for corporate media
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Like it is so destructive. Corporate media is villainous. Um, and so that's why I don't even pay any attention to it. I can't. I
yeah.
just can't.
No, I
That's
know.
why outlets like the Electronic Intifada, like Al Jazeera, like Mint Press, like Mondo Weiss, like your show, like many other podcasts, independent reporting, like Breakthrough News.
Hmm.
That's why all of those outlets are essential right now, and they need support. I mean, we're just a scrappy little, we have a tiny little staff, and we are stretched very thin,
Yeah,
and yet we're all pulling in 18-hour days, 20-hour days, because we owe it to the Palestinian people to amplify their voices, to subvert the dominant narrative, to hold the lies of the imperial core up and give a spotlight on those lies and tear them apart. Because the truth is not hard to find. It is on my phone from WhatsApp messages from my friends and colleagues there. It is searching out social media accounts where people are posting what they see with their own eyes in Gaza. Corporate media is dead. Corporate media is a ghoul. I can't stress this enough. It needs to be yeah, I don't also held, to international legal standards. It need that, these producers, these executives at CNN and MSNBC, they need to be held accountable at places like The Hague eventually for perpetrating these war crimes and for
yeah.
spreading these vicious lies.
Yeah, so I was thinking exactly the same thing. Christiana Amanpour was doing a segment that was pretty accurately covering Gaza, showing their correspondent there who had had his life destroyed and was fleeing with
Yeah.
his kids. And through it, I'm thinking, well, this is great. CNN's doing that coverage. Also, she has helped manufacture consent for God
Yes.
knows how much bombing just throughout her entire
Oh my
career.
God. Exactly. Exactly. That's all it is. It's manufacturing consent. And every once in a while they package it into this like, palatable, news package like, oh, yeah, there are correspondents in Gaza saying the right thing. And then you're hit with another wave of just utterly insane, vicious, disgusting, depraved lies that dehumanize Palestinians and make it palatable for an American or international audience to accept what's being done in Gaza.
Yeah. God, Nora, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to do this, and while you're working 20-hour days.
It's okay.
I highly recommend everybody just have Electronic Intifada as one of the tabs that you check every day.
Thanks.
Is there anywhere else I should tell people to follow your work?
Yeah, you can sign up for our email list. If you go to electronicintifada.net, you can sign up for our email digest. It's one email a day. It tells you what we've covered that day, as well as information on the live streams that we're doing. We're doing them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, where we have voices, people from the ground in Gaza talking about what's happening. And we have just incredible, essential analysis on the political situation as well. So tune in to our live streams. We're on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitter at Intifada. We're on Instagram, Electronic Intifada. We're on Facebook if you still use Facebook. But there are many ways to get in touch. And we also really have appreciated the messages that have been pouring in to our inboxes, telling us how much people appreciate this work that is being done. And so thank you for all of those messages. Keep them coming. It really lifts our spirits in times like these. And one day Palestine will be free.
Thank you, Nora. Keep fighting, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Lee.
All right. Hope you enjoyed and got as much out of that as I did. She's amazing and wonderful. That's Nora Barrows Friedman at Electronic Intifada. I'm hoping to bring you more interviews on this topic as it unfolds through the week. I have more for you this coming up right now, but definitely I hope you'll check out my live streams just about every day, every weekday except Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I'm about to bring you more information, this amazing statement from Colombia about what's going on now. But what really kind of shocked me was how it gets to the deeper aspects of this rather than just covering the surface level, Israel bombing Gaza. So I'm excited to bring that to you right now in just a second. A couple other notes. This show is completely and utterly kept going by you. That wasn't a proper sentence, but whatever. You guys are everything for this show. So if you think it's worth it, please become a member at leecamp.net, which will forward you to my locals page. You get my new ebook, Dangerous Ideas, for free when you sign up. You also get these live streams, even though they're free for everyone initially. They disappear on most platforms except on locals. So if you're a member there, you can watch them anytime. You also get video clips from these. You get interaction. You get to be part of the community there. You can comment. You can leave your own posts. You can chat with other people who are amazing human beings. And honestly, the community aspect of even though it is called Lee Camp Community or whatever, the community is awesome because of everybody who's there and everybody who's watching right now on locals. That's what makes it alive and cool. And thank you all who are watching at locals right now. You're amazing and you keep this show going. And then the last thing I'll say before I move on is tomorrow. It's now tomorrow. I mean, it's always been tomorrow, but well, no, it's not always been tomorrow, but it's always been Wednesday. Okay. You fucking get it. Tomorrow is the final time. I'm only doing it twice. Final time I will perform this comedy hour called Fear of Death and Other Small Matters. Because it was fully written, conceived, and planned before the Israeli mass bombing of Gaza, it has nothing to do with that. So if you need a break from that for an hour and a half, please join me. The tickets are $5 and they're at, if I can find it here, leecamp.simpletix.com. It's on the screen right now, leecamp.simpletix.com. $5 to join it live. It's not a video. It is me performing live with you guys on Zoom, via Zoom, anywhere in the world that you can get it, which is pretty much everywhere. And yeah, you just buy the $5 ticket. You'll get an email with the Zoom link and you can join us for that show. The two openers, if I can manage, I'm 1 for 3 now on redacted correspondent, former redacted correspondents opening the shows. One time, John F. O'Donnell didn't work out. One time it did. And then the last time, Jafar Khan, his internet crapped out, so we didn't have him. But tomorrow is supposed to be Jafar Khan and James Kennedy. James Kennedy did perform on the last one. He's amazing musician, rock musician from the UK. So all of that, it's a hell of a day and a hell of a performance. And it'll be at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, but that means 6 p.m. London time. So if you're in Europe, that's I'm sure better for you. And then 10 a.m. Pacific. If you really want to get a interesting start to the day over in California, please do. Okay, let's move on to and I'll throw this in there as the next story. There's a major march coming up in support of Palestine, put together by Answer Coalition. They're always doing good work. National March for Palestine, Saturday, November 4th at the White House. That's Saturday, November 4th at the White House. I believe it starts at noon, maybe. And this is co-sponsored by Palestinian Youth Movement, American Muslim Association, the People's Forum, National Students for Justice in Palestine, Party for Socialism and Liberation, the Palestine Right to Return Coalition, U.S. Palestine Community Network, U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, and Maryland to Palestine. All of that is co-sponsoring it, and it is this Saturday. So if you can make it to D.C., I hope you'll join that. Oftentimes, these marches are, then there's solidarity marches in other cities. So even if you can't make it to D.C., maybe try and find out whether there is a solidarity march in your area. If you want more details, it's answercoalition.org. Answercoalition.org is where you can find all of that. Someone said, Robin saying there's a national student walkout tomorrow. I was unaware of that. So definitely look that up, everybody, especially if you're a student. A national student walkout tomorrow. So that would be cool as well. All right. So I mentioned this. I want to bring it to you again. I mentioned it because it is so important, but I mentioned this while I was talking to Nora, but there was just a vote at the UN Security Council, and it also speaks to how much the U.S. is responsible for what's going on in Israel. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but the Western powers killed a UN Security Council resolution that proposed a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. The resolution was proposed by Russia. 5 countries voted for a ceasefire. So no matter what you think, even if you buy all of the propaganda against Russia, against China, or whatever, no matter what you think of these countries, in this moment, at least, they are the ones standing for peace and sanity. Doesn't matter if you hate them and you think they're all evil. And in this moment, they are the ones standing for peace and for sanity. China, Gabon, Mozambique, Russia, and UAE, all calling for a ceasefire. 4 countries voted against, saying, oh no, let's not have a ceasefire. Let's continue a genocide. Let's keep a genocide going. 4 countries, and they could have abstained. You realize that. So they didn't have to vote either yes or no. They could have abstained, as several countries did abstain. Now, that's still, they should still be ashamed of that. But they didn't have to vote, no, I want to see bombing. But there were 4 countries that said, we fucking love a genocide. We are on team genocide. And that is France, Japan, UK, and US. And obviously, where the US goes, so many other countries go. If the US were to actually be a world leader in a positive way, which we haven't been since, I'll go 1776. If they were to actually be a leader in the positive way, not only could the U.S. vote, yes, we want a ceasefire, but they could probably pressure UK, Japan, and France into voting, yes, we want a ceasefire. And most of these countries under these abstain list could also probably be pressured by the U.S. into promoting a ceasefire. Albania, Brazil, Ecuador, Ghana, Malta, and Switzerland abstained, which they should also be ashamed of that. But it's just this reminds me of the UN vote as to whether to I can't remember the terminology, but whether to I don't know, end all support of Nazis and celebration of Nazism. I'm not using the right terminology, but and the U.S. voted against that. And it's been voted on several times because Russia has put it up several times, basically to end all support of Nazism and celebration of Nazism, Nazi culture, Nazi emblems, all of that. And the U.S. multiple times has voted, no, we would like to continue to celebrate Nazism. I'm sure Canada was on that side as well, considering they just gave a standing ovation to a Nazi a couple of weeks ago. And of course, in 2013, as long as we're on the topic, in 2013, the U.S. Congress retracted a bill that had already been approved, saying that the U.S. could not send funds or arms to Nazis. So in 2013, in preparation for the Maidan coup in 2014, the U.S. Congress with the White House retracted their own law, their own bill, saying they could not send money and arms to Nazis. because they wanted to send money and arms to Nazis. That is why you would do something like that. That is why you would sit down, all of Congress, and say, we need to retract this bill, end it, cross it out, mark it red, delete, because we would like to send arms and money to Nazis. Okay, so I wanted to bring that to you. But more importantly, I want to bring you this amazing statement by Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, left-wing president in Colombia, which the United States is not like, because the United States has been an ally with a far right-wing fascist Colombian narco state for a good long time now. And we were not happy when a left-winger became president of Colombia. But here is Ben Norton's translation of and he is fluent in Spanish, of Gustavo Petro's statement, a powerful statement warning that capitalism is bringing back fascism. And so this is what I wanted to get to when I titled this episode, How Much of This is the Fault of the United States? This talks about not just Israel's current carpet bombing of Gaza, current genocide perpetrating in Gaza, but the underlying economic and other factors that have brought us to this point. And Petro mentions a lot of that in his statement. He says, the barbarism of consumption based on the death of others is taking us to an unprecedented rise of fascism and therefore to the death of democracy and freedom. Now, for those of you who are not really into economics, not really into studying what capitalism is precisely, you might not understand why he would say consumption has anything to do with what's going on right now in Israel. To those people with a surface understanding, even some of those that are getting somewhat legitimate news, they think Gazans were pissed off. They went into Israel, attacked Israel, and killed people. And now Israel is going way overboard for vengeance and bombing the shit out of Gaza. That would be like a real surface level, not digging any deeper analysis. Now, you could go to level 2, which is Israel's been an apartheid state for decades. Israel kicked Palestinians off their land, put them in an open-air prison, withholds things like water and medical care and everything else from their open-air prison, gives them hardly any way to live a life, and hates them and persecutes them on a daily basis. Now, that's maybe a level 2 understanding of what's going on there. But to go even deeper into this understanding, our unfettered capitalist system, which basically means capitalism, because capitalism will always become unfettered. It will always break off its chains. It is a monster where, yeah, you can have a chained up monster that might hurt you a little less, but eventually, in the case of capitalism, that monster will break its chains and eat everything. So unfettered capitalism is capitalism. But consumerism is kind of a offshoot aspect of capitalism. And in order for us, the United States, the West, the so-called rich countries, to get to extract so much resources and grab up so much of the world's resources to live these insanely rich lives. And when I say rich lives, I'm not talking about just the rich in America. I'm talking about your average life in America is just an immense amount of resources, fossil fuel use, and everything else that is destroying the planet. But in order to get those resources, we have to exploit countries around the world. And that's why you've heard the stat, I've mentioned it before, that they found that we would need at least 5 Earths to live the way your average American lives. Meaning, if everybody in the world, 8 billion of us or whatever it is now, were to live in the way, all the rest were to live the way that Americans live, or that a lot of the West lives, we would need 5 Earths because we don't have enough resources. So in order to get all those resources, the U.S. had to become an empire, had to extract those resources. A lot, maybe the most talked about one is fossil fuels for obvious reasons, climate crisis, etc. But and the petrodollar. But go around the world, grab up those resources. And Israel has been a pivotal part of that empire, of that extraction, of that ownership of the Middle East, and which allows us to have tentacles stretching out from the Middle East, and control and extract other areas of the world like Africa. And yes, the U.S. has 800 military bases around the world so that we can continue our extraction, to continue living these absurdly resource-heavy lives. But Israel is kind of like a little fiefdom of that system, of that economic system. In order for Israel to live the way it does, it has to extract the things around it. One of those being the land of Palestinians, and cut off water and cut off medicine and cut off food going to these areas. And you have these settlers, right, that go and kick Palestinians off their land. And this goes on even today. And Israel, the government of Israel, will offer them perks to do that. They'll say, we're going to give you a house for free, or we're going to give you, no taxes, or whatever the perks are. Many times it is legitimately like, we'll give you a house and land if you go be a settler. If you go live on land that belongs to a Palestinian, the IDF and the police will help kick them off, and we'll give you a house and land so that you can live there. And, it's kind of based on the way the U.S. kicked Native Americans off their land. And just, my brother went to the University of Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma is the name, the mascot is the Sooner. The term Sooner came from people that ran out to Oklahoma to grab their plot of land. Why were they running out to Oklahoma to grab their plot of land? Because the government had said, if you go live out there, we'll give you land for free. And the reason was because the U.S. government realized that in order to basically end the Indian problem, end the Native American problem, you had to have settlers running out into these areas to hold down the land as ownership. And they set a date when they were going to open up all this land, which really belonged to Native Americans, open it all up to people who were going to get it for free for living out there. And people who there was no way to actually monitor when someone arrived on the land. They didn't have surveillance cameras then. So people who went out before the official date were called Sooners. They ran out and grabbed their free plot of land, of Native American land. And anyway, Israel's based on the same model of, we will kick you off your land and we will give away houses and land to people who are willing to hold down that area. But why does that need to be done? Well, one of the biggest reasons is resources and space, and Israel wants to keep growing and stealing the resources from the surrounding areas. So all of that is connected under our economic system, ours and Israel's, but nobody really talks about it. A lot of it is ignored or what have you. Ignored or minimized, or just swept under the rug. So to continue from Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, he says the barbarism of consumption is leading to unprecedented fascism, the death of democracy and freedom. It is barbarism, or the global 1933, as I call it. 1933 was the year Hitler came to power. And God, doesn't that feel like it has some truth to it? The fact that we're in a moment in history that is leading to just horrific awfulness, and it's time to stand up and fight against it and understand that we're in that position right now, and have a moral core that is very different than the one that allows Israelis to carpet bomb children. But we're in a pivotal moment right here. To continue from Petro, he says, what we see in Palestine will also be the suffering of all the peoples of the global South. And see, he's making that connection, not just because the U.S. empire, which includes Israel, behaves that way, exploits so many people around the globe, but also because capitalism and the richest countries in the market economic system need to keep extracting. We need to keep finding those materials to live these ridiculous lives, these ridiculous rich in resource lives. And yeah, there's Israel attacking Palestinians, but we also go after Latin America, and it's going to get worse and worse as America runs out of resources. Petro continues, the West defends its excessive consumption and its standard of living based on destroying the atmosphere and climate, and to defend it, knowing that it will cause the exodus of migrants from the south to the north, and not only of the Palestinian people, it is ready to respond with death. God, this is a wonderful, horrific, but wonderful statement in how much it is clarifying of this situation. He continues, the West does not want to transform its economic system, only as far as the market will go to decarbonize it. So he's saying we're going to continue the exact same economic system that is destroying the world, destroying the planet. We may move towards decarbonization, move away from fossil fuels to some degree as the markets find that they can make money from renewables. But that they're still not going to do it 100%, I don't think, because of the petrodollar. Anyway, to continue from Petro, no pun intended, he says, and the West knows that the effort will be minuscule to save life on the planet. Its policy seeks to defend the bubble of consumption of the rich on the planet and not to save humanity, whose majority is disposable to it, like the children of Gaza. That is why there are the strong anti-immigration policies, the concentration camps for immigrants, the thousands who died in shipwrecks. He means headed towards England, etc., in the Mediterranean and Greece. That is the reason for the Tepon del Darien, the location where the many migrants cross from Colombia to Panama. That is why there are economic blockades of rebel countries. The right wing in the West sees the solution to the climate crisis as a final solution. The right, once again, dreams of Hitler and conquest. The majority of the rich and Aryan peoples of the West and our Latin American oligarchies who do not see another world to live in other than that of the malls of Florida or Madrid. God, he is excoriating the West, and it's beautiful to see. He's dead on correct. The right-wing forces in the global South use violence. They destroy democracy. They feel by the North legitimized to do so. They believe, and so Petro's talking about the right-wing forces in the global South. So the right-wing forces in Latin America, which many of them, not only do they support these behaviors by the United States, but often when they get to power, usually by a U.S.-backed coup, they request for an invasion by the United States. The right-wing forces in the global South want the U.S. to destroy and extract their countries, which is fucking unbelievable. They believe they can, he's talking about the right-wing forces in Latin America. They believe they can kill and commit genocide. They just need the blessing of the world power. We are moving into barbarism if we do not change the power. The life of humanity, and especially of the people of the South, depends on the way in which humanity chooses the path to overcome the climate crisis produced by the wealth of the North. Gaza is just the first experiment to deem all of us disposable. Wow. Fucking wow. Gustavo Petro laying it down. And I haven't heard, honestly, I haven't heard that take on it. Like viewing the carpet bombing, the genocide of Gaza as kind of a test bubble. I did talk about how it's been used for experimentation by Israel in terms of experimentation in surveillance, experimentation in how to imprison millions of people at once. So it has been used for testing of sorts, but I haven't yet heard what Petro just said, that the genocide being perpetrated against Gazans right now is a test bubble of how the U.S. and the U.S. empire, which again includes Israel, is going to go about this as climate crisis grows, which it's growing exponentially. The U.S. and the West will move towards more destruction and more eliminations of people who are in the way of the extraction that has been going on for years and years. Certainly not a positive note, I wouldn't say, but I don't know about you. Part of the reason that I bring these stories to you is because I get excited by the truth. I just want the truth. I just want people to know the truth. I want to give the truth. And so, yeah, not always good news. But the other thing is, I feel like when people know the truth, they're more likely to act in the right way to fight against it. If we don't talk about these things, which, like I said, this is the first person of any note that I've heard talking about the connection between consumption and capitalism and the current genocide perpetrated against Gazans. This is the first person of note I've seen talking about it. If we don't talk about that truth, that reality, dig down to the lower levels of reality, the base of reality, the core of reality, then we won't know to stop it. We won't know. We won't know how to stop it. We won't know how to fight it. Okay, guys, that is the show. Someone's asking me if I'm going to switch to Rumble. I actually forgot to switch to just Rumble this time. So for those of you on the other platforms, you got a little extra today. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please click subscribe over at rumble.com/LeeCamp. It's also free to watch there. Unlike the other platforms, Rumble will A, not censor me, but B, if you hit follow on Rumble, rumble.com/LeeCamp, and you then click the bell icon, Rumble will, as I believe, actually email you to let you know when I have a live stream starting, whereas YouTube fucking won't. Now, just about never. So do that. Rumble.com/LeeCamp and click the bell icon after you click follow. But more importantly, or also important, the final ever performance of my stand-up comedy hour, while seated, is tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's only $5 to attend live. This is a full hour of me performing, but also I have some openers, some great performers opening for me. But full brand new hour. You've never heard it anywhere except I performed it last Saturday, and that is the only 2 times I will ever perform this full hour, called Fear of Death and Other Small Matters. And it's only $5 to join me tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Only $5. And again, it's not a video, it's live. So we'll be hanging out together and you'll be enjoying the show. But that's all tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't have a live stream tomorrow because I'm always Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, except I do have the comedy special tomorrow. So you can join me for that. Let's see, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, rumble.com/LeeCamp. And other than that, keep fighting and keep getting the truth out there. And anything you guys can post about the reality of what's going on right now against Gaza, it's all helpful. It just needs to be such a tsunami of truth that the fucking trolls and the mainstream media and the U.S. government and France and Britain, etc., and Canada can't fight against and I mean fight in the information wars kind of way, can't fight against the truth that is just pouring over everything. This is another one of these times where it's like it is within reach. Getting this truth to people is within reach. And, just any chance you get to post something about Gaza and the horrors that are going on there, please do it. Please share my videos. But I'm not doing this just to get my videos out there. There's so many important people like Nora, but so many important people out there talking about the stories that are happening right now. And you please share their stuff. Yes, donate to the different outlets, sure, but share their stuff. Go to Electronic Intifada, share it. Go to Abby Martin's page and share that stuff. Go to Mint Press and share that stuff. Just get it all out there. And if you want kind of a bunch of stories that are outside, that are antidote for corporate media, go to radindymedia.com. Okay, I will see you Thursday, unless you're attending the comedy special tomorrow, and then I will see you tomorrow. And keep fighting.